Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Stage Door tonight. I'm Dave Hondel. Tonight is probably the most important podcast I've ever had. We're going to be talking about racial injustice. On my show tonight, I have a panel with me, producer, actor, and singer friend of mine, Myko Anthony. We also have hip hop artist G Get Money, and we also have hip hop artist Doe the Paperboy. Both of them are rising stars in the music business. We both, Michael and I, reached out to both these artists, these talented artists, and asked them to be part of a project that we're working on for social justice and police reform and everything that we're seeing on TV right now that has to do with racial injustices. And they both, without hesitation, jumped at the opportunity to make not only write songs but also to do music videos for our project. And tonight, at the end of our discussion, stay tuned because we're going to be premiering G Get Money's video Change. And in the next few weeks, we'll be premiering Doe the Paperboy's music video Woke. So make sure you stay tuned at the end of our podcast for that. But right now, we're going to join this podcast discussion in progress. So thank you.
Thing is us as a community killing each other. You know what I'm saying? And coming together. And I'm not even talking about just blacks. I'm talking about the minorities. They try to like keep us separate from each other as well. But if we all join forces, we can make a big change. We got the immigration, ICE with the immigrants and stuff like that. If we join forces with them, and if we join forces with them and they join with us, we'll have a bigger movement. We'll have a bigger voice. You know, so basically that's what I'm talking about in this video I put out.
Well, I can't wait for our audience to see it. G, it was a great video. It was very well done, great production quality. So again, I can't wait to premiere this after this podcast. One of the other things now that I have you all on, I wanted to try to talk a little bit about what's been going on. Myko Anthony and I we basically grew up in Minnesota, or I don't know, we lived there for a very long time in the Minneapolis area. I know I wanted to ask you, Michael, what are your thoughts about when you saw George Floyd's murder at the hands of a police officer? What went through your head, being from Minnesota and this making national news, and having to walk around on a daily basis and see the Minneapolis police badge? How did that make you feel inside when you saw that happen?
Um, I was angry. I was enraged. A part of me was like, "Here we go again," because that Minneapolis police force is something wicked. I've dealt with them many a times, and it was just it was heartbreaking. It was a cluster or a plethora of thoughts that went through my mind at the same time. And it was just, and then you get a sense of feeling powerless, wishing you were there, to be able to help, you know and then knowing that they have a law there for the police officers, that if a police officer see another police officer doing something out of line, he's able to step in and stop it. That's the law. Like, there's a little buffer there where you can, like, hey, I'm gonna need you to chill.
Right.
Like, they have that there, and knowing that these officers did not adhere to that, and then seeing where he was, knowing that I've been in that same intersection, I've been in that same store a number of times. It was crazy, and then following that, the days after that, when it went into the war zone, which most people don't even know of. They just think it was that, and then there was some riots, and then that was it. But a lot of people don't understand that when the curfew went in and the lights went down, that you had these white nationalists and these different little crews out rolling around on the south side and the north side, shooting and trying to burn down buildings and stuff like that. And we had like a lot of the gang members and other people that are in the community went and armed themselves to help protect the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And seeing that, it just it was a whole lot came to me. It's like I wanted to go home so bad, especially seeing one of the spots where the guys that were protecting the community, they were having a shootout. And it was 2 blocks away from where my daughter lives.
Yeah.
Literally 2 blocks away. You know, looking at the streets that I was on every day of my life, you know, there were times I sat and I just kind of, I cried. You know, I didn't do that, but you know, the tears just fell. I had a man cry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I'm so angry, I'm so frustrated. Then it's like, how come you guys can't see the evil that you do?
Right. Yeah. And you know, and when I saw Myko, when I saw that happen, I just, you know, it brought back a lot of memories of working downtown Minneapolis, and, you know, and just, you know, I'm not, you know, obviously I've had white privilege, and I'm not going to say I haven't. Being white, you know, I think that if you're a white person and you don't think you have white privilege, you're lying to yourself, period. So, you know, but I see, you know, working and living in an urban area my whole life too, you know, I know what's right and what's wrong, you know, and the fact that, you know, the stuff that just happened, and that we're just now, you know, getting to the point where we're seeing mass protests last as long as they did. You know,
Right.
I think in a way it's like what took so long, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. You know, and then Doe, you know, we're living in Virginia. You basically live in what was the capital of the Confederacy. You know, and you see statues and monuments on a daily basis. You know, how does that affect you? What do you, I mean, what goes through your mind when you walk past, you know, some of these statues?
You know, I mean, me, I'm kind of like, I always think about, you know, present, future, past. You know, I've always been the type of person that could understand the temperature. And I said that it's going to come a time when they're going to have to remove these statues. Perfect example. One of the schools was called Robert E. Lee. All of the schools that were in my city are named after people who fought to keep Black people oppressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, to not subject themselves to the new way. So, you know, slowly but surely, we start to see the names come off of schools, and they rename things to just try to give it a like a fresh coat of paint on something. Like, you get what I'm saying? But the monument, they still remain. So, you know, you drive past them and you like, wow, somebody actually thought it was a good idea to place these things there to represent what? Like, obviously somebody, you know, the South lost. You know what I'm saying? So why are we celebrating mediocrity? It's like a participation trophy. Like, you know what I'm saying? That keeps people oppressed. It's not fair. It's so disrespectful. It's almost, in my opinion, I'm not trying to relate it to the same, but it's almost like you're not going to make a monument of a school shooter. You're not going to make a monument of you know, it's just, I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, you know, it's just that deep. Like, let's think about what we're idolizing here. Like, a monument is something that we put in place to remember something that's to be memorialized in a positive aspect most of the time, right? Now, what those statues represent is something that could possibly put in a museum to talk about oppression, but not be sitting on the side of on the road in the middle of mainstream traffic where people drive every day. It's a hurtful feeling to know you haven't been, your feelings aren't considered, to think that nobody cares, like, to think that, wow, I'm just something that I'm just trash. Like, you know, that's really how they feel about. Like, we're going to put these monuments up and we're going to hypnotize you with the thought of, even though we didn't win, we still will oppress you. We still will have you oppressed. I'm still here to show you what I did and what I stood for. Why are we celebrating that?
Right. Exactly. 100%.
Well,
You know,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, G. Go ahead, G.
What I was thinking is that, you know, it's because we have a lack of knowledge, you know, within our school systems. Like, I grew up in I grew up in a town called Cicero. It's right off the west side of Chicago. It's real. It was based off of racism. You know what I'm saying? The KKK used to run the town. Al Capone used to run the town. But in our school systems, they barely talked about Black history.
Right.
They barely talked about the things that we went through. So the Black community that's growing up there, and even on the west side, you know, we not getting educated about the things that we, you know, the things that we've been through to even feel, you know, to want to change something. You know what I'm saying? So we growing up as, you know, drug dealers, rappers, and basketball players. Yes, that's all great. But is that going to change anything? Being in entertainment. Yes, I love entertainment. You know what I'm saying? But we need more people that's going to, you know, change laws, that's going to make movements. And we not doing that. We highlighting the chief keeps, the people that's really fucking our head up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I was probably one of the lucky ones to really be more conscious about what the fuck going on, but it's thousands, millions of young Black men that don't even know what the fuck going on.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
not to cut you off, but I just want to kind of elaborate on what you just said and how I felt about it. And you're absolutely correct. When I was in the second grade or maybe the third grade, we learned about Egyptians, all right? And we learned about the culture and how great they were. They were kings, they were goddesses, they were gods. You know, they were these great people. And fast forward, somewhere along the line, that just went out of the window, and we started to get this oppressed, kind of like a, what do you call it? When you said it, it's a curriculum. It was a curriculum of oppression. Like all of a sudden, you know, here we go. Let's talk about the slave part. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. Let's not hide the idea of what happened. Let's talk about it. But then all of a sudden, there were no more Egyptian great people as we evolved through our school to look up to. It became the Michael Jordans. I don't have a problem with that. It became the Mike Tysons. I don't have a problem with that. It became everybody, everything else. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, what can you do to entertain people? It was never about, you know, rulers, great rulers of nations. It was never about people being in power position, political leaders. Because even if you look at Egypt back then, those were positions, political positions, like regardless of the fact of, you know, it's just changed now. But if you were a king, that was a political position, like regardless, you know, we just named it, you know, differently now. But, you know, and like I said, I just wanted to, you know, just reiterate what G was saying. Like, we always look up to, I'm not saying necessarily the wrong people, but we kind of just like find ourselves looking up to what we feel is acceptable. Like we are afraid to be the doctors. We're afraid to be the dental hygienists, the lawyers, anything. We always want to just follow. It's hard to accomplish. Like, everybody won't be a rapper. Everybody won't be a basketball player. Like, and when you fail at that, you put all your eggs in that basket, and then you become what? A drug dealer. You become somebody that sits at home all day long and just, you know, I guess sit on the couch and just talk about how, you know, quote unquote, no disrespect, the white man's holding us back. It's so many different ways to look at it, man. It's just a lot to think about with the oppression, man. So, you know, it's just deep. It gets really deep.
Yeah, that well said. Definitely well said. We lost G for now, but while we're waiting for him to come back, I'm just going to pose this question to both you and Myko, Doe. But you know, I know we talked a little bit about before we started recording, but you know, the protests have been, you know, obviously well needed, and I'm very happy to see that they lasted as long as they did. But we're starting to see them kind of fade a little bit, and I don't know if that's a good thing or is that we're starting to see change. But you know, I kind of look at it like, you know, we have to keep the pedal on the metal, so to speak, and you know, we can't just let this go. And I wanted to see your thoughts on that, you guys, and what your thoughts are on, you know, do you think that it's starting to fade a little bit, or do we is it something we should fear, that we're not keeping the pedal on the metal?
I'll go first. I think some of it's fading just a little, but they're not totally giving up because there's so much going on that's keeping things constant as far as in the political realm, because we know that November's coming up. we still got a lot of these trials that are going on. The trial for George Floyd is still going on, so people are still paying attention to that. Then, you know, shortly after George Floyd was murdered, another guy was murdered down here in Atlanta at the Wendy's.
Yep.
And they're protesting about that. And, you know, the Wendy's got burnt down. And it's the same old thing where they feel like, oh, you're tearing down your own stuff, but they found out who actually set it on fire. It was two ladies set it on fire to burn it down, which was very unnecessary. So they're dealing with that. A lot of police down here have walked off the job. The chief down here walked off the job. She resigned. So there's a lot of things that are going on. I think right now we may not be seeing a visual front on what's going on, but legislation is where things are starting to move now.
Right.
Because now you have more people invested in this fight now. More people are fed up.
Right.
And so you have that, you know what I'm saying? And then and that kind of goes in with what you asked Doe earlier, and what he was mentioning too about these statues coming down. That stuff, people are in the ranks for that, for the Confederate statues coming down, you know, and they compare it to, if you go to Germany, you don't see anything relating to Hitler or the Nazis. All that stuff is done away with, you know, and here it's like they're trying to catch up. But then that also lets you know what the war was really about. So when they tell you it was about slavery, and you still got these generals and these Confederate generals still up, you know, it really wasn't about slavery. It was that war was really about, it was a financial war.
Right.
Yeah, it's really what that was. But I believe the fight is still going on, because there's still things that are happening, and so now is the time people are still are making noise. So
yeah, I agree with you on that. It's taking one of those. It's taking a political course now. People are trying to plot action and be a little bit more strategic about, you know, what they're trying to do. Not saying that they won't get rowdy again and start burning stuff again, but they're trying to wait for a verdict to some of this stuff. I mean, they see monuments coming down.
Yeah.
They see people being questioned about their actions. What you see now is a lot of more organized show of power, like you've seen. I think down in Atlanta, was it Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken? But you know, it was a huge, brilliant march. You know, beautiful black men all together marching with their firearms, letting people know we will not tolerate these type of things anymore, and we're going to put on a show of force. They're trying to be a little more organized instead of so chaotic. So it's not that and the thing about it is, the media doesn't want to cover it if it's not chaotic, because then it's like, it's really nothing to talk about. Like, they can't show you in your savage moment. Like, you get what I'm saying? But I think now is personal responsibility time. And what I mean by that is, that's why you see more people being organized. You know, you might see 1,000 people out there with guns, but it's one person that says, listen, I know y'all want to get rowdy and start tearing stuff up, but let me be the voice of reason and say, let's march in order. Let's chant the same thing. Let's walk through these neighborhoods. Let's tell these people, if they continue to get out of line, we will do it based off our Second Amendment rights. We will stand up and we will stand for our people. And that's, you know, that's just what it is. Like, that's where we are now. It's like, you know, kind of like enough is enough of all the destroying and the looting. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it won't happen again. And I'm not saying if it happens again, I'm going to judge people who are doing it. Like, you get what I'm saying? But it's like, it's about time to show and prove in a position where we can actually feel like we're gaining leeway. I mean, while we're burning stuff down, they're saying, oh, look at them, they're savages. Well, I'd rather you call me a savage while I'm marching with 1,000 black men or 1,000 people who stand for the cause in a more political way, professional way, and letting you know, listen, we can go back to that balance show of force, but we're going to do it under the law. And that's kind of like where we are. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's done. You know, we're just waiting. Like, it's almost like it's going to take a while to solve the problem. Like, it didn't happen overnight. The answer doesn't come overnight. We are people about progress and change. You know what I'm saying? As me speaking for myself as a black man, we don't want to be oppressed anymore. We don't want to oppress anybody else. We just want to breathe, man. Like, I mean, I know that sounds kind of cliche, but that's it. Like,
no, it makes
give me
sense.
something to work with. Give me something to work with. Like, you know, let me see some monuments come down. Let me see somebody show they care. Let me see the NFL issue a statement, an apology to Kaepernick. Let me see Drew Brees apologize for the statements he made. Let me see somebody being accountable for their actions. Let's stop
Right.
ignoring the fact that this stuff happened. Like, you can't keep
Right.
doing that. Yes, it
Right.
held an entire race of generational people back, and they are way behind. Yes, they are. Like, they are. Just being honest, it's not a lot of legacy in Black families. It's
Right.
not. It's destroyed.
Right.
Pictures are destroyed. Things have been burnt up. Like, people have died. Like, I never met
Yeah.
my great-great-grandfather. A lot of my white brothers and sisters, they got photo albums with people back from the 1915s and 20s, and they have legacy. We don't.
Right.
We don't.
And that kind of brings me to my next question. And this, I hopefully you guys will kind of understand how I put this, because I don't really know how to ask it. But, we talk about systemic racism. This is something that I was actually going to ask G. I think he was in a bad service area, so we're not getting him back. But, he lives in Chicago, and I know South Chicago has been synonymous for, I mean, and whether it's good, bad, indifferent, whatever, with in the South Side of Chicago, black people killing black people, and so the press wants to jump on that and make that the story, and then it perpetuates. So everybody thinks, okay, well, they're just killing their own people. But again, I personally think of it, it's systemic racism, and these stories perpetuate each other to make it like, somebody said, well, that must be the reality then. That's what's going on. But I personally think that that's part of the system trying to make it, that's what the narrative is supposed to be. So life will just go on, and they'll just keep killing each other. And then, nothing changes, because that's just the way it's always going to be. And that's always the way it was. But in reality, it's because, people aren't paid what they're supposed to get paid, what they should get paid. People aren't getting the same opportunities in healthcare. People aren't getting the same education, opportunities as a white community. And so, so like I said, this kind of all perpetuates itself from systemic racism. Is that making sense? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I get where you're going.
Yeah,
I get where you're
okay.
going.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
That makes total sense, because we're not dealing with idiots when we're talking about
Absolutely not.
setting up neighborhoods and all of this thing. They had this thing well thought out. They knew for a fact that when you have a lack of jobs in an area, that crime will go up. So they make sure that they do that the lack of jobs are where they are, so the crime can go up. And also you have instigators or agitators that keep things going up. Like they had that one guy in Chicago robbing banks, and it was blamed on a whole lot of black guy robbing banks. And it got so bad to the point where the police officer came to a lady's door, and the lady said, "I know why you're here. You're here for my son for robbing the banks." So she went and got her son, and he was like, "I have no idea what y'all talking about." And then when they put on the news that we found the guy, then the truth really came out, because a white lady said, "Hey, no, he's not the guy that's been robbing banks. It was my fiance who been robbing banks. And this is the mask that he was using. He had got a $2,000 mask from Hollywood that happened to look just like a guy that lived in Chicago. And the guy would have sunglasses on, and he had gloves on so you couldn't see the other parts of his skin or his eyes. But he was robbing he was robbing banks with that, And then you have guys out there that are shooting at one gang, affiliate gang, pretend like they're the opposite gang. And so now once they shoot at them, then they're like, oh, we gotta go get them guys to keep the stuff going. You know what I'm saying? Because crime is money. And we got all these private prisons going up, and we need it. It's just like a hotel. They need to be filled.
Right.
So they can be paid.
That's part of systemic racism. The other thing I was going to mention is the prisons, the private prisons. If they're not full, they're not making money. So they're taking advantage of the underserved communities to fill up their prisons, essentially, which keeps this whole thing perpetuating over and over and over again. So until we get rid of the private prisons, that, and also, the other systemic racism until we start reforming the police, until we start getting rid of the private prisons, and also giving more opportunities to people of color in high-ranking jobs. It's not going to change. And I recently went to nearby here. There's it's called Medford, New Jersey. It's near Philadelphia, but it's an all-white community. And we did a march. There was about 400 people. And most of us were white, but we marched for Black Lives Matter, and we had a couple of speakers at the end. And they're all young kids, and I thought what they were doing was great, because we were marching through these white neighborhoods, Black Lives Matter, and talking about George Floyd and all the other people that have unfortunately been victimized. And until the white, this is what I feel, until the white communities do stand up for what's right, I don't think anything's going to change. Because you can march all you want, and in urban areas, and you might get people to listen a little bit, but until you start marching in the white areas to change the people's minds in the white areas, and start teaching Black history in school, not just in February, but all year long, and talk about the real things that have happened, not just what the history books are telling you. I think we need to rewrite the history books, because they're not teaching us the right parts of Black history. They're just not.
Right.
And the fact that Black history, to me, people being oppressed could be last month. It could be it doesn't, you don't have to go back 400 years to the start of slavery to talk about oppression and in the minority community. It happens every single day. Why don't we talk about something that happened last year, the year before, about who got shot? Philando Castile got shot again in Minnesota, where Mike and I are from. It's unbelievable what I think is a lack of education, period.
Yeah.
We had this young 20-year-old girl was speaking on the microphone, and she was so passionate about this Black Lives Matter march that we did, which was great. And I think she meant well, but she started talking about her Black boyfriend, but she was like, I've dated many colored men. I'm like, oh, see that right there. It told me right there that it was a lack of education. She was not educated. She had the right, she wanted to do well, but she wasn't educated enough to know you can't use that word. That's an oppressive word.
They so used to being around people, and it's tossed around so friendly.
Yeah.
And it's just it's like a term of endearment on their behalf, but obviously when we hear it, we kind of like, what do you mean colored? Like, it's like, it's like the N word all over again. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I'm colored? Like, what do you mean? Like,
but that's the sign that hung over doors that said colored only.
That's exactly what I was going. Like, it's the same thing. It's like, you're hitting you're reminding me of the oppression all over again. Like,
That's right.
We have to get to a point, man, as a people in general. Like you said, we got to bring it to the front doors. We got to hold each other accountable. Like, I got Black friends, I got white friends. My Black friends that aren't as cool with some of my white friends as I am, they're like, such and such is racist, or this person is racist. I'm like, yo, what are y'all defining as somebody being racist? Is it their lack of understanding? Does that make a person racist? Not in my opinion. Now, if you have a lack of understanding and you're not willing to hear somebody out, and you're continuing to practice a certain way, and you won't get a level of understanding, and you operate a certain way, then maybe I would assume that you are racist, or are you prejudiced? It's just so many different ways to look at it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I don't really believe, and I know for a fact, every white person isn't racist. And every Black person doesn't mean we're about a Black community, just like every white person doesn't mean we're about a white community. Like, you have to weed people out, figure out who's down to really be different. And that's where we are now. We're at a level of accountability for everybody. If you have white friends and you're white and they're around you and they're saying things out of their mouth and it don't sound right, you got to check them. And vice versa. Like, what I'm saying? And my Black brothers and sisters, that they, get in the stand, forget all white people. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Let me hold what you got. If that's your temperature and that's what you're going to be doing, I'm not around here with all that, because that's not what I'm trying to stand for here.
Right.
That's not going to get us anywhere. You understand what I'm saying? That's not the attitude that's going to get us anywhere. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes it is a time to be loud and be vocal, but that Black men shouldn't date white girls or white girls shouldn't date Black. That's not going to get us anywhere. We were all placed here with the ability to choose who we want to be with.
That's right.
We should not be limited by who we can deal with because of the color of their skin.
Yeah, and that would go
And-
against
and-
everything that we're trying to change.
everything, exactly. We
Yeah.
have to get away from that. Like, it's been many times when the black man has not been valued in this country, has not been honored in this country, unless he was playing a sport or unless he was doing something along that lines of entertainment. And then the day came when he made a bad decision, right? And then they nailed him to the cross every time. And not saying that some people don't deserve to be in trouble for some things they did, but I'll give you an example real quick. Tiger Woods cheated on his wife. Yes, he did, right? Men do that all the time, right? I'm just giving you an example, right? Tiger Woods let black people tell it Tiger Woods ain't really black. Let white people tell it Tiger Woods ain't really black. So look at what he's dealing with, right? His father's black. His mother is, what is it? She's Korean or
I think so. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
Asian. Yeah.
now all of a sudden him cheating on his wife, which he created offense towards her, becomes public news. And now all of a sudden we coming at him for everything about his character, everything. Oh, he likes prostitutes. Oh, he likes you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's hard to fight your way out of all of this stuff. Like 1 minute you think you're fine, the next minute you're not. Like and I use that as an example because it doesn't matter a lot of times. People just can't wait to judge you. And black people are normally prejudged before they even get a chance to open their mouth.
Yeah, and it's whenever I watch TV and see panels talking about what we're talking about right now, you just see pure exhaustion. I mean, they're just exhausted because it's almost like you get so tired of talking about it and hearing
like-
about it. It's almost like on deaf ears at some point, and then people just get so tired that they just shut down. And that's and right now I think is the only time in history that I can remember in my 51 years that we actually keep the conversations going, which is a good thing.
We got to.
Yeah, we have to. And that's why we're doing what we're doing right now, because we can't just let this thing go. We have to keep talking about it. We're going to keep talking about it on my show. We're going to keep talking about it through our music, through our videos, and whatever we can. Speaking of videos, I have to change gears a little bit here, Doe, because you had a really exciting situation come about that has to do with Mike Tyson, and I want you to tell our viewers about that because it was such an amazing thing. I just want you to let everybody know what happened there.
All right. So oddly enough, I'm actually standing on the back porch that I wrote the verse for Mike Tyson on. It was crazy because basically a couple of weeks prior to that, I had been doing music for a guy named Suge D for AEW Wrestling. I got a random phone call and said, hey, send me some tracks, send me all your ASCAP paperwork, your publishing paperwork, fill out this paperwork, and if things go as well, we'll air you on TNT. So they did AEW Dark, which comes on Tuesday, which wasn't quite TNT at the time. And then the following week, they did Suge D on TNT. So I'm excited. I'm like, okay, he's this up-and-coming wrestler. I'm finally getting my shot, right? So then the following week, he gets a big fight against Chris Jericho. Now, I'm expecting the record to get played again. It doesn't. So I'm like, I'm all hurt about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, man, come on, man. Like, I got a shot. For whatever reason, they're rebranding him and it's not working out. So my wife was just kind of like, just take your time with it. You know how great you are. Just keeping me motivated. You know what I'm saying? Because we get discouraged as men sometimes too. I don't care what level you are. That's why it's important we choose a helpmate that's important, that helps us out. So I'm literally at my in-laws' house. I'm standing on the back, like I'm sitting in the house. I get a text message from a guy named Mike Ruckus. He said, Doe, how fast can you give me 32 bars? I was like, how fast you need 32 bars and what we doing? Like, help me understand where we're going with this. He said, quiet as kept is for Mike Tyson. And I'm like, no, I said, you talking about Mike Tyson? Like, you talking about like Iron Mike Tyson or there's some dude named Mike Tyson? He was like, yeah, he's going to be on AEW, Double or Nothing. So I was like, really? He was like, yeah. He said, how fast can you get it back to me? I said, look, I'll have it to you first thing in the morning. He said, matter of fact, I'll give you one better. Have it to me by Monday morning. So I literally stood on the back deck. I understand Mike a lot because I do research. I know who Mike Tyson is. I watch his interviews. I wrote the verse. I went to the studio, recorded it the next day, submitted it to my guy, Mike Ruckus. By Wednesday, he was calling me saying, hey, they presented it to Mike. It's a strong possibility that we're going to play the record. So strong doesn't mean it's going down. It just means that maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
Saturday, I got a inbox DM on Instagram from Suge D and said, wait a minute. Did you just do the music for Mike Tyson? I'm standing right here at Double or Nothing. And they just played the clip that Mike is walking out to. And I think that's your music. And I was like, yeah. He was like, yo, like, that is insane. Like, he was so happy for me. Like, because he knew the situation that they no longer had me doing his music. So Mike Tyson walked out to that music. Bleacher Report, CBS Sports, Sports Illustrated. I mean, you name any top media site ever, they all played that clip. They all showed that clip, and my music was in the background. You know what I'm saying? So the bonus to that was literally 3 days later, Mike Tyson comes out on TNT to confront Chris Jericho. So happened, and he came out to it again, but he brings Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans. I mean, he brings some of the baddest UFC fighters that ever fought. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Rashad Evans.
it was amazing, man. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That's
And
insane. Congratulations, man. That
appreciate
was
that, man.
when
I
you
appreciate
sent me the clip right away, and I watched it, and it was pretty cool because I'm a big wrestling fan. I used to know the head of production for WWE, so I used to go to every match and go backstage and sit with the sound people and Shane McMahon and everybody. So it was pretty cool to see that. So congrats on that, and especially Iron Mike Tyson too. That was just pretty cool.
Man, and
That's
it's
awesome.
still, and not to continue on, but it's still yet to be determined how far it goes because it's not done. Mike is not done with AEW yet, so we just waiting to see what happens, and it can continue on.
Talk about your video you just dropped today for our listeners and our viewers. Talk about that.
Okay, so basically, faking ops. So basically, the theme of the song is opposition is not really truly. It doesn't really matter. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's really not any opposition if you learn how to master yourself and maneuver your way through it. So that's the temperature of the video, shot by War God. We use my guy Hafiz. We use his boxing studio because we wanted to stick with the mic. I mean, we was like, yo, while we got Mike Tyson on, this thing going, wear a Mike Tyson shirt. Let's get in a boxing gym. Let's capitalize. Let's play Mike Tyson Punch Out in the in the video. And that's what we did. So we kind of just like took an opportunity to say, hey, Mike Tyson has opponents just like everybody else, opposition, but it's really no opposition. They just fake. So that's the whole temperature of that video off of the second harvest. So it's a great video, man.
And it dropped today. Tell everybody where they can find it.
So you can go to YouTube, type my name in, DoeThePaperboy, Doe the Paperboy, and you will literally see all of my videos pop up. It should be the most recent thing. A few blog sites are starting to cover it already. So we'll just see where it goes, man. We did very good with the more play. We'll just see where this goes.
Just wanted to talk to Doe a little bit about the project that we're working on to fight racial injustice, in not only in America but in the world. We contacted Myko and I got together a few weeks ago and talked about who we could get on this project to talk about what's been going on in the systemic racism and everything else that's been happening with the protests and so forth. But we want to do our part to raise our voices and talk about this as well. So we contacted Doe the Paperboy, who, Doe, you were more than gracious to be a part of the project, as was G Get Money. But your project is going to be out in the next few weeks for us. It's called Woke. I know it's part of another album that you have. So we'll talk about that song a little bit.
Okay, so my record Woke, which is on the Second Harvest, which is also available on all streaming platforms. I'm just gonna plug that in. So the record Woke, man, is just basically about the temperature of the environment that we live in now, man. It really challenges everyone to step up to the plate and be responsible for everything that's going on. I mean, some people hold a greater responsibility than others. It just depends on where you are in life. If you caused a lot of damage from a systemic racism point, if you caused a lot of damage in your own communities, the record is kind of challenging everyone to say, hey, what are you responsible for and how will you step up to fix that issue? And then it challenges people to say, hey, did you really pay attention to what Kaepernick was doing? Did you really pay attention to what, the spirit of what Drew Brees was saying? What did Rosa Parks really do? Are we really understanding the principles of the people that came before us? And have we progressed any since then? We're at that point where it's like, how long do we continue to combat the same issues? So like I said, the plan is to have that video available really soon. Trying to work hard on and making sure that the visual is tight and right because, systemic racism and just the whole race issue in America or worldwide is just something that it has to be addressed. And as many times as it can be talked about, it needs to be talked about.
All right. So, thank you, Doe. I appreciate that. And, I want to turn this over right now to Myko Anthony, who, I know you go by Deranja for your rapper name. So talk about, you have a new project also on all streaming platforms, correct?
Yes, I do. I have a EP out right now with more music to follow. And my name of my EP is called Brick Rose. You know, sometimes beautiful things come out of hard times. You know, and you can find me on all streaming platforms under Dub Ranger, and it's DAREIGNJAH.
All right, so everybody listening, make sure you check that out. All right, so everybody, just wanted to thank Doe the Paperboy. Thank you for joining me, us tonight. And then also G Get Money. I know he had to drop off, but again, you know, everybody listening, and Myko Anthony, thank you for co-producing this project with me. I just want to thank everybody for watching and listening, because I think this is a very important message tonight. And you know, again, keep fighting the good fight. Don't give up ever. Make sure that your voices are used for good. And you know, anything that we can do here at the Stage Door Show to help you with that platform, you know, we're more than willing to do that. So again, with that, I just want to wish everybody a good night, and thank you for watching the Stage Door Show. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening tonight and watching. I am proud to present to you G Get Money's brand new music video for this project called Change. This is G's vision, and it was you know, directed by Gabriel Maldonado. Very well done, great video, so please enjoy. Thank you.
Look, it's a war going on. I don't think they can see it, man. The system is just so broken. Gotta pick up the pieces before you find out the solution. Gotta find out the reason, man. There's gotta be hell on earth who release all these demons. I'm not trying to take you to church, but I know we need Jesus. I had a conversation with God, and you wouldn't believe it. I said, Lord, where do I begin? Let me start by saying, can you please forgive my sins and watch over my family, my enemies and friends? I ain't never been a selfish nigga. I pray that we win, cause we all in this together to the end. Started from the bottom, you don't make it where I've been. The poor keep getting poorer, I blame the government. If you don't get the picture, then you need a better lens. Ay, they got you blinded. They got you thinking your life is so timeless. Ay, they want us divided. Ay, now it's time to get up on the right course. This the type of shit that I'ma die for. Us against the world, we gotta fight more. Look, everybody wanna see change. First you gotta change yourself. The world in just too much pain. When we gon' get some help? Gotta keep your head up. You know we can shine through the weather. All we gotta do is stick together. I don't wanna go to war with you, never. Look, I just want peace and equality. I had to speak cause it bothered me. They just been killing my people for years. All of this police brutality. This cannot be my reality. We gotta change their mentality. I love that I'm black. Every time you mention my people, you better make sure that you spitting them facts. They tryna tell me that my Jesus not black. How was that? They stripped us from our knowledge, but we taking it back. We ain't tryna riot, got the freedom of speech, but then they say be quiet. We was keeping the peace, we didn't want the violence. Another dead in the streets and you can hear the sirens. They wasn't letting us speak, they tried to keep us silent. We'll never be free if we don't stay united. Everybody wanna see change, but you gotta change yourself. The world in just too much pain. When we gon' get the help? We gotta keep your head up, head up, head up, head up. Keep your head up, head up, head up. I know you fed up, head up. Keep your head up, head up.